How long have you lived in Rowlett, and what's your favorite thing about this community?
Well, I've lived in Rowlett since 1991. My wife and I moved from Garland to Rowlett. I guess my favorite thing about the community is it still has a small town feel. I came from Garland, which was a larger town, and so Rowlett still has a small town feel.
How has your background, work experience, and/or volunteer service equipped you to serve on City Council?
Well, as you probably know, I have been on council before. I served 4 years and 8 months on City Council, so I have got some experience in that era, in that vein. Volunteer work, I do a lot of volunteer work. I've been volunteering since 2011 with city volunteering. So I'm currently with VIPS and CERT. So,
what are some objectives that you want to accomplish during your term in office?
Well, I come into the term of office without any agenda. I don't have an agenda. I guess if I did have an agenda, it would be, I want to do what's best for the city. I take everything in stride about the city. I don't want to be swayed by one group or another group. You know, I want to sit down and think about it and what is best for the city. That's what I want.
What programs would you propose to help deter criminal activity in Rowlett?
Okay, I can't say that I know of any programs, but what I think would deter criminal activity is for neighbors to know neighbors. Please get out and introduce yourself to your neighbors, get to know them, become friends with your neighbors. They can watch your house when you're gone, you can watch their house, and if somebody strange is in your neighborhood, you'll know it.
What key areas of infrastructure in Rowlett do you believe need immediate attention, and how would you propose those be addressed?
As far as infrastructure goes in the city, I think the problem we have the most problem with is our sewer lines and water lines under the ground. They're old, and there are many, many miles of it, and it can't all be done at one time because we just, number one, don't have the people to do all of that. But then there's the money too. But I think our infrastructure would be the sewer and water lines, and our public works is doing what they can to fix them and keep them up and running. And when one breaks, of course, new lines go in.
If given the opportunity, what changes would you recommend be made to Rowlett's comprehensive plan?
Well, number one, I think the comprehensive plan needs to be reviewed. I think it's been too long. We need to review it. The changes I would make, I would take a look at where the multifamily areas are and make sure they're the right areas. I think we're pushing that a little bit. So I think it really needs to be looked at, and I think the multifamily may need to be changed.
What items of consideration would you give to a zoning case that comes before the council?
Well, as I've said, I've been on council, and we did have zoning cases. And one of the things is when you change a zone, you changing what the people who moved around that area assumed it to be. We had a zoning change for a gas station. It was going to put it right in a neighborhood, and the people were upset about it because they never foresaw that. So I think that's what has to be looked at in the zoning. What effect is it going to have to the people around you?
What types of economic development incentives do you believe are right for Rowlett?
Yeah, incentives in economic development are, I guess there's all kinds of incentives. Like restaurants always want the grease traps. I agree wholeheartedly with what Rowlett does in that you're going to have to give something back. We're not going to give you an incentive without something in return. And I think, you know, the incentives, they vary, but I think we need to get something in return that's equally as valuable.
What types of development do you foresee for Rowlett's remaining land?
Actually, in the North Shore, I would love to see something on the order of State Farm Insurance, which is at 190 and 75. I'm sure everybody's seen that big building. They might not know it was State Farm, but they built the building first. That big building came first. So they got all the area that they wanted. And then after that, restaurants came in all around it, right next to it, parking garage, all this stuff came in. And I'd like to see that in the North Shore, a big development like that.
Rowlett has significant facilities needs across many of its departments. How do you prioritize the facilities needs that exist, and why?
Well, my first choice would be the police station or public safety. As the city grows, so grows the police department. And right now they have nowhere to grow. They're full. So first, I want to see the police department. Second would be the animal services, because in the same vein, as the city grows, so does the amount of stray animals and everything else. So we need a larger animal shelter.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city does not currently have, which you feel would add a level of service and improve quality of life for residents?
Yeah, there is one. We used to do the Memorial Day touch-a-truck, and it is not being done anymore, and I would really like to see that come back. That brought a lot of people into one area. It was at the RCC. They did the Memorial Day remembrance event there and then opened up touch-a-truck, and it was really a great time, and I'd like to see that come back.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city currently has, which you view as unnecessary or extraneous?
Actually, no. I like what the city does.
Taking into account the cost of any proposals you've already mentioned, what ideas do you have to help lessen the tax burden on residents and commercial entities in the city?
I get asked about taxes a lot, and people don't realize that Rowlett, when you pay your taxes, Rowlett is only getting 1/4 of what you're paying. 50% is going to the school district, and another 25% is going to the Dallas County. So Rowlett does not do the appraisals, the county does. So Rowlett really only has control over 1/4 of your tax dollars. And since the appraisals went up this past year, the current council backed down the rate to try to compensate for that. And I think they did a good job, backing down from that and compensating for that rate. But that's all really we can do. We can't change the school tax. We can't change the county taxes.
Please share your financial background and elaborate on your qualifications to oversee the city's $100 million plus annual budget.
Well, my financial background is only my checkbook because I was in IT. But, the budget, I have been working with the budget for 4.5 years. So I am very familiar with the budget. That's really my background, is the budget itself. I have been working with it for a long time.
What vision do you have for the future of Rowlett? How would you ensure that vision is implemented long-term?
I think my vision for Rowlett centers around Sapphire Bay. Sapphire Bay, and then the last question was about taxes. Sapphire Bay is going to really help with those taxes whenever it comes online. I know it's a slow process, but that's kind of a result of COVID, I think, and money lending. But when Sapphire Bay comes up, it's going to be a destination, and it's going to bring a lot of things to Rowlett that we don't have today. And one of them is lower taxes. So that's kind of my vision for Rowlett, to see that up and running and going.
Please share any closing comments with our viewers.
For closing, I would say I'm Brownie Sherrill. If you don't know me already, you probably do, I hope. I am running for place 5 on the Rowlett City Council, and I really would appreciate your vote.